Welcome to Fully Armed with Chris Hennessee. I'm your host, Chris Hennessee, which I guess that makes sense. Today's episode is a little bit different. We're not going to have a guest today, or are we? I'm going to introduce you to an integral part of this show. Today we're going to be introduced to Miss Judy. Who is Miss Judy, you ask? Well, I'll explain it to you, and I'll explain to you a little bit more about what the armored car is all about on this episode of Fully Armed.
Welcome to the Fully Armed Podcast with Chris Hennessee. You got your armor on?
So there it is, the armored car, Miss Judy. And I'm sure you're asking, why Miss Judy? What in the world? Well, here's why. So in 2023, in the fall, I am in the process of trying to find a vehicle to drive to gigs, carry musicians in. For those of you that don't know, I'm a singer-songwriter by trade, and we travel around in vehicles and do gigs. So I'm looking for one. And my wife finds this 2006 Winnebago Outlook, 27 foot with a V10 Ford engine, gas burner. But it's not really what I'm needing, but you know what? It's so close to the house. Let's go check it out. So let's go look at it. So we do. So when we pull in the driveway, who comes walking out but sweet Miss Judy? And come to find out, Judy's had this RV for many years, and she and her husband bought it. He had passed away, and she just wanted it gone. So we went back and forth a little bit, and after about a week, we decided, okay, we're going to get it. So we get this RV, and it's sitting in the driveway, and I start to have these feelings of like, man, I don't know if this was a good idea. Almost unrealistic negativity towards it, like, you've made a mistake. And it's like, well, I've done this stuff before. Why does this seem like such a big deal? It didn't make sense at the time. It does now. I get it. So at that point in time in my life, I was listening to the Unashamed podcast, which I'm a big fan of. It's the Robertsons from Duck Dynasty. Huge fan. Love them. Go check it out. And so I start thinking, well, I could do a podcast. But what would it be about? If I was going to do it, what would the idea be behind mine? And I started thinking, well, I've made a lot of friends and acquaintances through the years. Maybe I could just interview people. And if I did, what would it be about? Well, I want it to be faith-based because I feel like God's calling me to do something different. I didn't know exactly what, but maybe that's what it is. And so I knew that I was going to, would ask these guests to give me their favorite Bible verse, their go-to Bible verse, and then come on and talk about how faith has played a role in their career. So I wrote down a list, and after looking through the list, I thought, it's not a bad idea. It's a pretty good list. Now, how's this going to work? Well, I don't have a studio. Well, should we just set a studio up in the house? Yeah, we can, but then it turns into a logistical issue of calling all these people and trying to get them to come to my house. It's a little bit more difficult. So I thought, no, it's just not going to work out. I don't think that the podcast thing's for me. Move on. So God wasn't ready for me to be done with it yet. That's for sure. So I had a church service coming up that I was going to be playing some songs and speaking. And so that'll fall into this a little bit later, too, into the equation. So I go and do the church service. I have some friends come up to me at the end of the service and say, we'd really like to talk to you about something. And I said, great. Let's talk later this week. I'm in the middle of shaking hands and saying goodbye and all this stuff. So we'll talk later. So that plays into this. So I'm in this RV, and it's pretty rough, as the footage will show you. We had to do brakes, almost burnt the thing down, driving it around with these, putting new brakes and calipers, and they stuck, and it was pretty rough. Had to put an alternator on it, got almost stranded out without an alternator. I had to redo the whole as I'm looking right here, I'm looking at the sleeper that's above the driver's seat. Had to redo the whole flooring for that. It was rotted. There was just a lot new floors. And by the way, shout out to my buddy Mark, who built this table and helped me do all the walls and the flooring and everything in here. I couldn't do any of this stuff without him, so I'm very blessed. So I'm in here working on it, and I knew that I had a pretty long road ahead of me in fixing it up. So I'm texting back and forth with Elio, my bass player buddy, about the church gig that we're going to be doing. And I said, I'm not ready for it. And he said, well, God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies those he called. And when I saw that text message and I'm standing in this old shell of an RV, it occurred to me, this is it. This is the studio. I guess it occurred to me because God whispered it to me. Hey, man, this is what you do. So there were a lot of hoops to jump through, and I circled back around to those friends that I had talked to at the church service, and they said, they'd really like to help out with the ministry, and they thought that they heard me speak, and they wanted to know if I had something that was going on. And I said, I'll get back with you. And I didn't have a name for the thing. And, of course, I've went through the explanation of where the name Fully Armed came from in a previous podcast, so you probably already know that. But so once I got the name and I got everything lined up, I called them back and I said, I think I've got a thing I want to present to you. And I did. And they were like, yes, we love it. We want to get involved with you. I had one of my best friends from back where I grew up that became a huge part of why I am able to do this. I was introduced to another great friend, a fellow who's become a great friend. And actually, if you see the stickers on the side of this, we got logos for Freight Auctions, and my buddy was part of Freight Auctions, and I want to thank him for it as well. We wouldn't be here without him. Well, there's also Isaiah 117 House that's a logo on the side, and I'm going to have an episode very soon to tell you all about that, but go check it out right now. Google it, Isaiah 117 House. Contribute, help those folks every chance you can. They're doing a great job in the world. So back to the RV, we end up doing all this interior stuff, and my wife helped me out so much with this stuff. I mean, it was a lot to do. And then at the end of the day, we've got this, this pretty rough looking RV on the exterior. What we're going to do with that? And so, hats off to MC Wraps. We took it down to those guys around Atlanta. They put the wrap on it. Hats off to my wife. I was going to do a camouflage pattern on it, and right at the last second, she came in and said, "You can't put a camouflage on Fully Armed. It has to be armor." And I was like, she showed me what she was talking about, and I said, "You're right. That's exactly what it needed to be." So that's the reason it looks like it does. And so here we are. We are sitting inside of this 2006 Winnebago, and we've had our share of difficulties. I mean, we started shooting this thing in July, and if you've seen any of the episodes, you may have already seen I'm sweating. So we've had some air conditioning issues and some camera issues that we've had to fight through. So there have been a lot of hurdles we've had to jump over, but we are jumping them in stride. So I just wanted to introduce you guys to Miss Judy and to the armored car, let you know where it came from, why it came to be, and also to let you guys know that this show, Fully Armed, I'm trying so hard to stay out of God's way with this thing. I am trying so hard to listen to what it is that he wants me to do and to follow through with it, from the guests to the surroundings, to the logo. Jamie Carroll, thank you for that. But I'm just really trying to stay out of his way. One thing that I do know is that we need you. We need your help. We need you to share this. If you like what you're seeing, share it. If you're not really into what you're seeing, let us know what the deal is. Let us know what we can do that you think would be better. If we agree with you, we may work on it. If we don't, we'll keep doing what we're doing. But just comment. Let us know. But we need you to share this. We need you to follow us. We need you to like. We need you to hit that subscribe button. Do all those things to help us grow this, because what we are trying to do is to get the Word of God out into the world. We are trying to be a beacon of light and a little bit of truth in a world that is it's just so saturated with untruth, with lies. And especially as we move through the rest of this year, and it's an election year, and just there's so much misinformation going on out there. We want to bring this book right here and bring its truth out into the world as much as possible. So like, follow, subscribe, share, do all those things and help us grow this thing. So that's it. Miss Judy, the armored car. Thanks to everybody who had anything to do with helping to get this thing off the ground. And we'll see you down the road. If you see us going down the highway, honk at us. If you see us on the side of the highway, stop and help us. But just thank you so much. You guys are a blessing, and we hope that we're a blessing to you. And till we see you next time on Fully Armed, pick up your Bible, put on your armor. God bless you.